Top 10 games that deserve a second chance. In this world, there are good games, great games, and games so bad that you want to tear your own eyes out of their sockets. Sometimes when playing through these games, we run across games that just seem to fall by the wayside, games that might have been good but never reached the popularity that they could have. This list is dedicated to those games that either with a remake or a sequel could soar to new heights, and possibly receive the credit that they deserve. Dissidia, Final Fantasy. Dissidia is a 3D fighting game comprised entirely of Final Fantasy characters originally released for the PSP. It has been several years since this game has seen a proper sequel. A great game for those who love fighting games as well as fans of Final Fantasy, Dissidia is a joy of a game to play. This game would be higher on the list, but recently it has been announced that there will be an arcade version of the game, with new characters as well as updated graphics and a new 3-on-3 battle mode. With this being the case, it's fairly likely that we will see a console port at some point. Now about that Final Fantasy VII remake. Soulcalibur. This weapons-based fighter has fallen on hard times in its more recent installments. Soulcalibur 5 felt watered down and lacking compared to Soulcalibur 2 and 3, and the less said about Soulcalibur Lost Swords, the better. Namco seems to be determined to destroy all credibility of the series as of late, but we still believe that there is hope for the series. All they need to do is get back down to the basics and find out what made the games memorable in the first place. Possibly start the series over if you can't figure out what to do with Soulcalibur's admittedly convoluted plot. With character creation being a big focus on later games in the series, it might not be a bad idea to start with the weapon styles and let the player create the characters to populate an interactive story themselves. Just a thought. BanjoKazooie. It has been a long time since Rare has made a great platforming game, and honestly, it's about time. With next to no games coming out in this genre any longer, it might be a good time to let the bear and bird out of their cage and give the portly plumber a run for his money once again. It's true that their last outing as a kart racer / creator was a bit weak, but surely it is possible to bring this dynamic duo and their witchy antagonist back once again on a whole new adventure. Wait! We aren't done with this one! After we began making this top 10 list, we received some news. Playtonic Games, a studio comprised of some of the original Rare members who worked on BanjoKazooie, have created a Kickstarter for the game Yooka-Laylee, which has already reached its goal 10 times over. With this game on the horizon, it looks like the possibility of a good 3D platformer may be in our future after all. Clock Tower. Probably one of the lesser-known games on this list, Clock Tower was a true survival horror game. You were usually a scared teenaged girl who had very little to fight back with. Running and hiding were the keys to survival in this series, and those that did not learn this lesson usually didn't last very long. While the Clock Tower games did have a spiritual successor in the game Haunting Ground, it has been over a console cycle since a game in this series has come out. There have been a few titles that have tried to fill the gap that Clock Tower left behind, including Remothered, a game which originally started as an unofficial remake to the first game in the franchise, and Nightcry, a game created by Nude Maker, a group comprised of several members who worked on the original Clock Tower games. While over a year has passed without an update to Remothered's status, Nightcry seems to be slowly coming together, already having made improvements both in their graphical presentation and in their animation. With horror becoming more of a welcome addition to a gamer's library than ever before, it might be a time for another bout with the Deadly Scissor Man. Valkyria Chronicles. It's true that these days Sega doesn't have the greatest reputation. With the repeated bastardization and repeated milking of their main mascot, it's not surprising that there are fewer and fewer fanboys who stand behind the once great company. That being said, every now and then they come out with something that we can't help but admit went far beyond any of our expectations. The Valkyria Chronicles series is one of those times, with the first game in the series showing how a tactical RPG can be both entertaining and soulful, with a diverse cast of characters that you can't help but get attached to. While the second game didn't really reach the heights of the first, and the third never being officially translated, there is still hope that maybe one day we'll be able to revisit the country of Gallia once more. Resident Evil Outbreak. Back in the early 2000s, the Resident Evil franchise had a bit of an identity crisis, trying to decide which way to take the series. During this time, two major games came out in the franchise: Resident Evil 4, which took the series in a whole new action-oriented direction, and Resident Evil Outbreak, a multiplayer online game that tried to keep some of the same claustrophobic horror moments of its predecessors. The game itself was decent enough, with gameplay that felt like Resident Evil, as well as characters who were varied enough that changing between them kept things interesting. The main problems with it was both a lack of content as well as a lack of characterization that made it difficult to really care about a lot of the characters in the game. That, coupled with the online issues that the game faced, it's not too surprising that the game ended up feeling a bit underwhelming by many people out there. It would be nice to try to survive the streets of Raccoon City again with friends on your side. Maybe just this time give the characters a bit more interaction rather than a few canned phrases. Nowadays, with online gameplay being the norm, as well as technological improvements we have made, it might be a good time to take another crack at making a true online multiplayer Resident Evil title. Jade Empire. 10 years ago, after making Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare took a bit of a leap and set their game in a fictional Oriental-influenced civilization, Jade Empire. What it ended up being was something that felt akin to playing an epic kung fu movie, with a story that was both beautiful as well as captivating. Jade Empire was also the first game that allowed you to choose the orientation of your character, making BioWare one of the pioneers of equality in gaming. Since then, BioWare has had multiple success stories with both the Mass Effect and Dragon Age series, both excellent in their own right. But to some of us out there, the whispers of the Jade Empire still beckon us to return. Koudelka and the Shadow Heart series. Originally, this series started off as a single game on the PS1 called Koudelka, which was unique with its gothic-style horror mixed with an RPG battle system that few have tried to replicate successfully. This series later evolved into Shadow Hearts on the PlayStation 2, which became a 3-game series that, while keeping its original gothic horror roots, had an identity all its own. This series was one that was completely overshadowed by other more popular RPGs at the time, but still retains a cult following to this day. Since its developer has long since been out of business, it is unlikely that we are going to see another game in the series, but we still hold out hope that someone may be able to utilize this unique setting. Skies of Arcadia. While some might feel it might be cheating putting another Sega RPG on this list after mentioning Valkyria Chronicles previously, we feel that Skies of Arcadia deserves acknowledgement. A bright, colorful world filled with likable characters, as well as a true feeling of exploration that was uncommon in games at the time, Skies was unique amongst all other RPGs of its day. It's also one of the first games that allowed you to customize your own pirate crew as well as your own fortress. Fans of the series have been clamoring for years for a sequel or remake of the original game, but so far these wishes have gone unanswered. Hope is not completely lost, however, as the main characters Vice, Aika, and Fina all showed up as recruitable members in Valkyria Chronicles. Vice shows up in the most recent iteration of Sega All-Stars Racing as well. While this by no means guarantees that we will get to fly the skies of Arcadia again, we still have hope that something may lie just beyond the horizon.
What have I got?
What? Are you looking for a fight?
Anytime.
Were you?
Damn. Now what?
Are you all right?
You're one of them.
Wait.
Why?
What a terrible wound. Can you walk? It's dangerous by yourself. Let me take
I'm
you somewhere
fine.
safe.
Let me guess. This is some of your handiwork, right?
The brass is still warm. These guards were shooting at something very recently.
So who were they fighting?
This wasn't much of a fight. I don't think these guards hit anything before getting sliced and diced. Whatever they were shooting at came in through there, and ripped right through the steel fence.
Well, the hole is nice and clean. But I still say you could have done this.
Zero Escape Series. Murder, betrayal, and the consequences of one's actions. These are the main focus of the Zero Escape series. Starting off with 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, we get introduced to Junpei and 8 fellow captives who have 9 hours to escape a ship before it sinks. While this alone is an interesting setup, the twists and turns the tale takes before the end makes it an excellent piece of fiction, one that any fan of a good narrative shouldn't miss. That alone would have been enough, but soon after we were treated with its sequel, Virtue's Last Reward, which, while having a few returning faces, was mostly comprised of all new characters, and had a story even more twisted than its predecessor. It's also one of the more emotional games you will play. Each character has a backstory, and there isn't a single character who is there just for filler. Everyone has a place, and everyone is there for a reason. It will take multiple playthroughs to truly understand what is happening, but the payoff is well worth it. You will laugh, you will cry, and you will die, and you will love every minute of it. Virtue's Last Reward, however, ends on a cliffhanger that is supposed to be wrapped up in the 3rd and possibly final episode of the series. However, the future of the series is uncertain at this time, as it seems to have become a difficult sell for publishers. With the franchise lingering in limbo, we can only hope that we can see what lies ahead for the heroes of this tale, and see if they can finally escape fate's cold grip. And there we have it! 10 games that deserve a second chance at gaming life. Do you agree with our list? Write a comment down below and tell us what games you think should come back into the spotlight. If you enjoyed our video, please like and subscribe to us, and we'll be able to do these videos more often. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Beautiful.
Okay, reflections on the floor.
Wesker!
You guys
Jill,
didn't have
what
like
we
a
look
code
for.
word or a
Let's
time
not
to
leave
meet
this
back
one.
up.
Good
Wesker
idea.
just went away.
Yeah, but
Wait, what am I doing? I'm exploring.
yeah,
So, okay.
you're exploring the main hall to see if you
She's
can-
got like jiggle going on. She's not even. Look at this. Annie.
Oh yeah, they actually did it.